Hi everyone, Justin here. Many of you know me, somebody who finished Western Governors in the 6-month block, which is the one term. And I completed that last year in 2020, and I still make videos on my experience about Western Governors. So the focus of today's video is something that is especially interesting to me because it's something I've grappled with over the years. Even though I feel like I am somebody who has achieved a lot in my kind of short life so far, and I still struggled with this because it's not easy, and that is concentration. And concentration is essentially the whole name of the game when it comes to the accelerated path. It's actually at the core of what will help or hinder you, whether you are concentrated for a good chunk of time within your program and while you're doing your different exercises and studying regimes, or if you're struggling, maybe that concentration isn't honed or isn't put into a strong enough effect within your life that you can get a lot done in a short period of time. So I want to talk a little bit about what it is, what it's meant to me in my life, why it's important, and how you might be able to hone that skill, because really it is a skill that anyone can cultivate if they do practice it enough. So I made a video a while ago, which is one of my videos that seems to have done well, which is called Intensity and Consistency. And those are two other ingredients that I feel are important on the accelerated path. Intensity means that you need to kind of plug in and really focus for an extended period of time and get a lot done when it isn't necessarily always the most enjoyable process, but you can get in, get a lot done, and then move on to the next tasks. And then also consistencies throughout the program, you want to have a routine so that you can do well. But at the root of all of that is being able to concentrate while you are doing your papers or studying. So to me, concentration is similar to focus. Focus is kind of this idea that we place our attention onto something, whether it is writing a paper, but concentration is that effort where we can focus on something for an extended period of time so that we aren't getting distracted or pulled in all these different directions, even if we have distractions, whether it's our phone, our children, or whatnot, or even our minds that seem to pull us and say, oh, I don't want to do what I'm doing. But concentration allows us to kind of have that focused attention for longer than a short period of time. So really it is about sustaining attention on different points of focus. So for me, a lot of it was writing because I had so many performance assessments, and writing is sometimes easier at certain points than others. And I found the harder points of writing was when I really didn't know what to write about. And I struggled with understanding the concepts in relation to my experience because a lot of my papers I had to deal with my own experience and some of the theories, principles, concepts that I was learning in my Master's of Curriculum and Instruction. But other times, I was able to get in a flow when I really kind of felt like I know what I was doing, when I was competent, and I felt like I was on a roll. But how do you stay concentrated during those times where you are struggling and you just don't want to do it? And this can be similar to when you're studying for an objective assessment, when you're reading material and it's not really clicking for you. Now, it kind of reminds me way back in the day when I started meditating, and I started meditating over 15 years ago when I was actually in my teens, and I kind of went on and off of a meditation routine. And there was a point by which I actually hired almost like a meditation coach. And something she recognized in me is that I was very good at being aware of my thoughts, being aware and reflective of my experience, and I could be very mindful of what was going on in my life. But I was dealing with issues with concentrating on that awareness. So for example, when I was meditating and I was aware of my body, I found myself with her acknowledgement that my mind would start to bounce all over the place, which is probably many people's experience. It would start to notice the breathing, which is typical in many meditation routines, and notice the body, and then it would want to drift off and wander. Now that's very typical. The mind will wander just the way the heart beats, the stomach digests. It's a typical thing. But I found it hard to kind of bring it back and still focus. She said that a lot of my priority around meditation should be on concentration. But I was thinking, like, how do you do that? Or how do you actually concentrate? And something I recognized is that there are two types of practices within meditation, which is similar to concentration, is formal practices where you deliberately sit down for, let's say, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Some people do it up to an hour. And you do a practice where you maybe once a day in the morning and you focus and concentrate on what's happening for that block of time. And if you do that every day, it almost becomes a ritual for you. But that isn't enough in my experience. I got really good at, over time, sitting and being able to concentrate on my breath after I did this over years and years and years. But when I stopped sitting on my cushion, I had that monkey mind all over again. So what's really important is to practice concentration throughout your day on whatever you're doing, whether you are doing the dishes, whether you're listening to somebody, whether you're writing a paper, whether you're problem solving a task at work. It could be anything. It could be in the shower, paying attention to what you're doing. Constantly concentrate and try to keep your focus on what you're doing in that given moment. There was an article written by Harvard professors Gilbert and Killingsworth, I think were their names. They were psychology professors, and they talk about a wandering mind and that our minds typically wander, but this wandering led to a lot of unhappiness. And that was quite alarming because it said about 50% of our waking hours, our mind is wandering, that we need to actually practice bringing our attention to what we're doing. And, if we can do that, we can feel happier. And I would argue that, you can actually perform a lot better within school if you can get really good at concentration. Now, a lot of people just assume that, just pay attention, just, focus, have discipline by willpower, that's enough. But in my experience, it needs to be a continuous effort. And it goes back to that idea of consistency with building in a concentration practice in your life. Now, for me, I just do my best to concentrate on whatever I'm doing throughout the day. And even as mundane as that may be, and sometimes working through that mundane thing that you're concentrating on, whether it is just washing the dishes, can actually make it a lot easier to do tasks like writing, because writing is a little bit more stimulating and it will help you get into a flow a little bit easier. Now, some of you, the idea of meditation doesn't really resonate, and that's not something that you're interested in doing. But you don't have to call it meditation. You can literally call it practicing concentration or practicing being aware of where your mind is. And if you really notice, your mind is probably ruminating on something you did in the past, or it's actually fixating on worries about the future. So really the idea is to bring it to what's going on in this moment and to really practice sustaining that attention for as long as you can. If you can do this, I promise you will feel a lot more fulfilled within your life, not just in doing Western Governors, studying, or papers. You'll feel good about everyday life because you won't always be bombarded with these thoughts that pull you in so many different directions. So I'd like to hear from you. What are some of your thoughts around concentration? Meaning, what are some of the techniques you've used to help you concentrate more? Maybe there's other things like removing certain stimuli, such as a phone or other things that grasp your attention, that I would love to hear more from you about what you're doing, and maybe other people can learn from that in the comment section. So place your comments below, subscribe if you like these kind of videos, and I will see you in the next video.